The Welsh call it leek and potato soup. The French serve it cold and call it vichyssoise. When it's served warm, it's thick, warming and delicious. So the first thing you're going to do is take the ends off. You don't need the green, the flavour's not in that, so you want to leave a little bit but dispose of the rest, and you want to take the hard piece off the end. Then you're going to chop this like you would an onion, not too thick, not too thin. You want the flavours to distribute evenly in the saucepan, so you're going to chop it all the way through. So once they're chopped, you want to place them in the colander because you're going to have to rinse these rather thoroughly. You want to try and break them apart as much as you can, but they do have to be rinsed. You're going to do the same process with all 3 leeks. After each one is placed in the colander, you're going to break them apart as much as possible. Then you're going to take them over to the sink, and if you've got a big bowl or even in your sink, you're going to place the colander in the bowl and start to rinse these leeks, because they're renowned for having dirt and sand all tucked up within the pieces. So what you're going to have to do is give it a good rinse under the tap, and then what I do is I tip them into the bowl and make sure that they're all properly soaked for about 5 minutes, and that makes sure that most of the grit and the sand will deposit on the bottom and you won't have any issues with the Inish soup. Once it's soaked for long enough, you're going to take a ladle and you're going to ladle out the leeks. Now this will make sure that the sediment stays in the bottom of the bowl rather than pouring it over and redepositing on your leeks. So this is the best way I suggest to get all the leeks out of the container without bringing any of the sand and soil with you. You're going to take the butter and melt it in the bottom of the saucepan, making sure that it's properly melted before you add your ingredients. Once the butter's melted, you're going to add your garlic and some salt and pepper. You want to make sure the saucepan's big enough, at least 8 cups, because you're adding 4 cups of stock, you're adding all the dry ingredients, and then 2 cups of half and half. So you need a decent sized saucepan to contain everything. So once the butter's melted, that's when you're adding your leeks, and you're going to give them a really good stir and try and coat them with as much of the butter, because you want to, like onions, you want to sweat these all the way down. So you're going to keep cooking, you're going to keep stirring, and you're going to break them down and try and get them apart. You don't want any big lumps in it, and you want to keep this going until just before it comes to mush, so you want it nice and soft. You then take your 4 cups of chicken stock and you're going to add it into your flour. Now what you want to do is make a slight paste, and what this will do, this will help to thicken up the soup. You can also use cornstarch, but I just find flour just works better. So you're going to add it once it's gone smooth without any lumps in it. You're going to add this back into the jug, and then you're going to pour it into your soup. Once you've got this mixture ready and you've poured it into your saucepan with your leeks, you're going to take your potatoes, which are 5 or 6, Yukon Gold or yellow skinned work better. They've been peeled and diced. Those are going into the mix next. You're going to stir it all up, make sure everything's coated and submerged, and at this point you're adding your 2 cups of half and half cream. Now you can use full cream for this, I choose not to. I'm trying to make a healthier choice with the half and half. There's not a great deal of difference in the taste, and believe me, this is just as good, if not a little bit healthier. That's the chicken stock that I used. It was reduced salt, but you can use whatever stock you like to go in. Now you're going to bring the whole mixture back to a simmering boil. You can turn it down at this point, and you're going to cook the potatoes until they're soft. Depending on how low you keep it, it's going to be anywhere between 10 and 15-20 minutes. So if you've got a very low heat, it's going to be the longer period of time. So after 20 minutes of cooking, you're going to add salt and pepper to taste, and then you are going to pulverize it. You're going to liquidize it, and so it's a nice smooth and creamy soup. So as you can tell, I like my soup creamy, so I really give this a good bash. So keep going until there's no lumps at all in it. You can definitely keep tasting as you go, and if you need to add more seasoning, you can go right ahead. So this can be served piping hot with a bun and lots of butter. It's absolutely yummy. Meanwhile, outside, so while the potatoes and the leek soup was cooking, I decided to fill my urns outside. Now, if you're familiar with my channel, you've watched some of my episodes, you'll know that I'm trying to keep the spending down to a minimum this year and get back to basics. I'm trying not to spend any money on decorations. I just find it's all very frivolous and so unnecessary, especially at this point when we've got so many things that already that we don't use. So I've decided this is going to be the year that I use everything that I've got. So what I did was I cleared out my urns outside, and I placed in 2 obelisks, metal frames that I usually have my ivy growing in. So I've put those into the soil and wrapped them with some artificial greenery that I've used in the past. We used to have a fence at the end of the garden. I used to put this on it and wrap it with lights, but we've got rid of that this year and we're just using it for this. So then I've taken some greenery from the backyard and some trees, mainly the tree at the front. We have a big pine tree, and then we've got some more in the backyard. So I've grabbed what I can from those, and I'm just adding them in and around the base of the cone. You can see we've had quite a few. We've had a little bit of snow so far this year, but we've had some really windy days, and a lot of the cones have blown off the big pine tree that we have out front, and the twigs are all over. So we've got to do a bit of tidying out front, a bit of yard work for leaves and pine cones. So it's just, with the way the weather's been, it's been low on the priority list. So this is urn number 3. Again, I grabbed from the backyard. The structure in the middle is an Eiffel Tower, and it's usually in the garden. So I've grabbed that, I've wrapped it with the green lights, and then just tucked in sprigs of greenery, just to give it almost like the feel of a tree, a little Christmas tree. But it's very random and it's very rustic. This is not anything refined. And like I said, I'm not going for a refined look with bows and beautiful Christmas balls. I just want everything to look very rustic and homemade, and it certainly looks like that. So again, with the rest of the greenery, I'm just tucking it around the base of the structure, and again, just to kind of mirror the 2 that are in the garden. just to give it a bit more shape and form. So I'm just using up the greenery that I've picked for today, but I will be adding some more greenery in, and a couple of days coming up I will be filming outdoor in the evening just to show you exactly how pretty the lights look, even though they're all a little bit different. And like I said, I haven't spent a penny on anything, so it doesn't look too bad considering it's cost me absolutely nothing.